For nearly 20 years their love story felt untouchable. It survived addiction. It survived distance. It survived fame. And in a world where celebrity marriages often collapse under pressure, theirs became something rare, something people believed in. That's why when the news broke in early 2026 that Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban were officially divorced, it didn't just feel like another Hollywood split. It felt like the end of something permanent. But what happened next is what truly caught everyone off guard. Because almost immediately, another name began appearing in headlines, whispers, and speculation. Russell Crowe. A longtime friend. A trusted ally. A man who had quietly remained in the background of Nicole's life for decades. And suddenly people began asking questions. Not just about the divorce, but about him. To understand why his name resurfaced now, you have to go back to the beginning. Back to a moment when none of this pain existed. Back to a night in 2005, when two Australians met in Los Angeles and unknowingly changed each other's lives forever. It was January 2005 at the Day USA Gala. Nicole had already lived an entire lifetime in the public eye. She was an Academy Award winner, a global icon, and still carrying the emotional scars of her highly publicized divorce from Tom Cruise. Keith was different. He wasn't a movie star. He wasn't part of her Hollywood world. He was a musician, quietly brilliant, emotionally open. And when their paths crossed that night, something unexpected happened. Nicole would later admit she was immediately drawn to him. Not because he was flashy. Not because he was powerful. But because he felt real. There was just one problem. Keith didn't call her. Not for a week. Not for a month. For 4 entire months he stayed silent. Nicole later joked that she thought he wasn't interested. What she didn't know was that Keith was terrified. Terrified of ruining something before it even began. When he finally called, everything changed. Their connection accelerated with a force neither of them could control. Conversations stretched for hours. Distance didn't matter. Time didn't matter. They were falling into something deeper than attraction. They were falling into trust. By May 2006 they were engaged. And just 1 month later, on June 25, 2006, they stood together in Manly, Australia, surrounded by friends, family, and familiar faces like Naomi Watts and Hugh Jackman. It felt like the beginning of forever. But forever almost ended before it truly began. Because just 4 months into their marriage, Nicole was forced to confront a truth she couldn't ignore. Keith was struggling. Not quietly. Not privately. But in a way that threatened everything they had built. His addiction to alcohol had followed him into their marriage, and Nicole made a decision that would define the future of their relationship. She staged an intervention. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't cruel. It was an act of love. Keith entered rehab in October 2006. For 3 months, their marriage existed in limbo. Newly married yet separated by necessity. United by vows yet tested by reality. Later, Keith would openly admit the truth. He had nearly destroyed everything. And somehow she stayed. Not out of obligation, but out of belief. That moment became the foundation of their marriage. Not perfection. Not fantasy. But survival. And in the years that followed they built something extraordinary. In 2008 they welcomed their first daughter, Sunday Rose. In 2010 their second daughter, Faith Margaret, joined their family through surrogacy. They settled into a quieter life in Nashville, far from the constant noise of Hollywood. They created routines. Private rituals. A sense of normalcy inside an abnormal world. To outsiders their love seemed effortless. Keith spoke about her with reverence. Nicole spoke about him with warmth. They didn't just love each other. They protected each other. Even small details reinforced their connection. Nicole once revealed they never texted. They only called. Because hearing each other's voices mattered more than convenience. It was intimacy in its purest form. And for nearly 2 decades it worked. They appeared together at award shows, their body language relaxed and natural. They celebrated anniversaries publicly. They supported each other's careers without hesitation. To fans they weren't just a couple. They were proof. Proof that love could survive fame. Proof that second chances could last. Proof that even in Hollywood, forever was possible. Until suddenly it wasn't. In September 2025, reports surfaced that the unthinkable had happened. They had separated. Not publicly. Not dramatically. Quietly. Behind closed doors. Court filings revealed the official reason: irreconcilable differences. A phrase so clinical, it barely scratches the surface of human emotion. Because irreconcilable differences doesn't explain sleepless nights. It doesn't explain silent dinners. It doesn't explain the moment two people realize they've begun living separate emotional lives, even while sharing the same home. There wasn't one single event. There wasn't one scandal that could be pointed to definitively. Instead, there was something far more complicated. Careers that demanded everything. Keith's life on tour kept him moving constantly. Different cities, different countries, endless nights away. Nicole's career was equally relentless, with projects like the long-awaited sequel to Practical Magic 2 and continued work connected to Big Little Lies keeping her immersed in production schedules across continents. Two people, deeply in love but increasingly living in different worlds. Distance doesn't always break love, but it can change it, slowly, subtly. Until one day you wake up and realize the person you love most has become someone you no longer fully know. By January 2026, it was over. Legally, officially, irreversibly. The marriage that had once symbolized resilience had come to an end. And that's when Russell Crowe's name began appearing everywhere. Not because of anything he said, but because of everything he didn't. Russell and Nicole's connection wasn't new. It wasn't sudden. And it certainly wasn't born from her divorce. Their friendship stretched back decades, long before either of them became global superstars. They shared more than nationality. They shared experience. Both had risen from Australia to conquer Hollywood. Both understood the isolation that comes with fame. Both understood how success can distance you from normal life. In 2018 they worked together on the film Boy Erased, directed by Joel Edgerton. Their roles required emotional vulnerability, portraying parents navigating pain, fear, and unconditional love. That collaboration didn't create their bond. It revealed it. Russell openly praised Nicole's performance, calling her extraordinary. And coming from someone known for blunt honesty, those words carried weight. He didn't praise lightly. He praised truthfully. Years earlier, in a simple social media post, Russell had referred to Nicole as one of his favorite people in the universe. Not his favorite co-star. Not his favorite actress. His favorite person. At the time, it barely registered publicly. But after her divorce, those words returned. Re-examined. Reinterpreted. Reimagined. Because in the absence of answers, people create their own. Russell understood divorce in a way few others could. His own separation from Danielle Spencer had ended a relationship that spanned nearly 2 decades. He understood the quiet grief, the strange emptiness, the disorienting shift from partner to co-parent, from shared life to separate existence. And that's what made him uniquely positioned in Nicole's life. Not as a savior, not as a replacement, but as someone who understood. Tabloids, of course, saw something else. They saw opportunity. They published stories claiming he was calling her constantly, meeting her privately, offering emotional support. Some even suggested his own partner, Brittany Theriault, was uncomfortable with their closeness. But here's what mattered most. None of it was confirmed. No statements. No interviews. No photographs proving anything beyond friendship. Just speculation. Because speculation fills silence. And Russell Crowe remained completely silent. Meanwhile, Nicole did something telling. She kept moving forward. She appeared in public with quiet confidence. She attended events. She focused on her children. She accepted new professional opportunities, including a high-profile role co-chairing the Met Gala alongside Beyoncé and Venus Williams. She wasn't hiding. She wasn't retreating. She was rebuilding. Fans noticed. They flooded her social media with support. Messages of encouragement. Messages of admiration. Even longtime friends like Michelle Pfeiffer publicly showed support, reinforcing something important. Nicole wasn't alone. Not because of Russell Crowe, but because she had built a life filled with people who genuinely cared about her. And maybe that's the truth no headline can fully capture. Divorce doesn't always mean betrayal. Sometimes it means evolution. Sometimes it means two people who once needed each other no longer do in the same way. Keith Urban never publicly attacked Nicole. Nicole never publicly blamed Keith. They remained focused on what mattered most. Their daughters. Their family. Their future. Because the end of a marriage doesn't erase the love that once existed. It simply changes its form. And Russell Crowe? He remained what he had always been. A friend. Not a rescuer. Not a secret lover. Not a dramatic twist in a tabloid narrative. Just someone who had been there all along. Quietly. Privately. Without needing recognition. In the end, the truth isn't explosive. It isn't scandalous. It isn't dramatic enough for headlines. The truth is human. Nicole Kidman survived heartbreak before. She survived public scrutiny. She survived reinvention. And she will survive this too. Because her story was never defined by who she married. It was defined by who she became. Resilient, independent, unbreakable. And as for Russell Crowe, his role may never be fully understood by outsiders. Not because there's something to hide, but because some friendships don't need explanation. They simply exist, steady, unshaken, real. And maybe in a world obsessed with scandal and spectacle, that quiet truth is more powerful than any rumor ever could.